I promise you all that I have not crossed the line. I
Is
took
that-
extra special steps to make sure that didn't happen. Welcome back. The Overclock Workshop is back, much to my dismay, frankly.
Yeah.
No, I definitely did want to do this eventually. I will say though, before we actually get started at all, this isn't going to be too frequent. We're going to do things in a way so that the Overclock Workshop will be at most bi-weekly. It probably won't be longer between them than that, because I can't imagine us having that many other ideas. But I don't want to, I was going to find a way to make this last a long time anyway. But I honestly think it'd be worse if we were doing them week to week. Because unfortunately, Tyler, you would never have heard the end of the Overclock Workshop. But I could at least have it be less frequent.
Yeah.
So that will last a lot longer.
Yeah.
I won't say the numbers, they might make you scared. How long this will actually last overall. But obviously, after you've done the weapons, it's like, oh, where do you go when it comes to coming up with overclock ideas? Well, people have already sort of dipped their toes into this, but it's also something that people sort of stayed away from, and that we've sort of stayed away from a while, which is adding overclocks to anything else.
And I am continuing to stay away from, in all fairness.
Yeah, but, well, we should say that we both sort of believe in new support of traversal tools, and I sort of coexist between the two, where it's like, I know they're not going to do both of these things, but I want new ones, or I do want overclocks for them, and I think both can work. And this is sort of me trying my hand at maybe proving that possibility. That's why this video is called "What If the Sentry Gun Had Overclocks?"
Oh,
I know, good, isn't it? Good.
Yeah.
So it's just the 3 overclocks this time, so this should be a lot shorter. I don't know what input Tyler's going to have. There will be things that, ideas that I'll have while explaining, things that I might want to change. Like, I know the balanced one's got some things that are a bit odd, but when you're entering the realm of overclocks for support or traversal tools, you're inherently entering the realm of hypothetical, and it sort of means that something's happened, something's changed in Ghost Ship's principles, that they're going to let people get stronger, by adding these things. At the same time, I've sort of done, there's a bit of a mixture of things that just add or fill in for certain conveniences that maybe don't have to be a part of the main weapon, or just things that change it up in a significant way, but don't really inherently make it a whole lot stronger. It's there's a weird balance that I have no idea if I've actually gotten right or not. But I'm pretty happy with most of these. And I think there's no real better way of demonstrating my confidence, because I think the first one's pretty good. So the clean overclock for the LMG gun platform. By the way, it's just a sentry gun. No one calls it that.
Yeah, like any of those, just call it sentries. The word sentry isn't even in the name, but everyone calls them that.
Yeah. Well, did they think they were too good for it? I mean, think about all the others. Grappling hook, zipline launcher, platform gun, shield generator, satchel charge, flare gun.
In all fair, well, I guess shield generator a little bit, but do we call it shield? I guess we call it shield, but sometimes we call it
shield.
Bubble.
Yeah, but the object itself isn't the thing that it is a shield generator.
Yeah. I
mean, this is an LMG gun platform, but that feels like a really just obscure way of referring to it. That makes it's not like it's inaccurate. I guess, but it's not necessarily what you think.
The title doesn't imply that it's in any way automatic and sentry like.
To me, it more so implies.
For LMG.
Yeah, to me, it more so implies it's someone on a stand. What the hell is that?
But
all right, back. I just realised that there was a little bit of a hiccup with the background music. Either way, we were about to get to the first one, and obviously, by first one I mean the first third, because these videos will be a fair bit shorter than previous Overclock workshops. Introducing Sweeper, which highlights the enemy currently being targeted and prioritises targets with lower health. So we talked recently about Hawkeye's system and how people might have expected, oh, you're going to have something like where it an overclock that makes it just target weak points or ignore or like not shoot at impenetrable armor. Well, I think that should just be a part of Hawkeye's system. But this is sort of in a similar vein, but something that shouldn't necessarily be part of that. Something you can, tack on. And immediately you have the Sentry doing more of what you want it to do, which is first of all shooting swarmers because they'll be the things with the lowest health, but also just finishing things off. And the highlighting thing is just a bit of convenience. I think that part can't stand on its own. I think it prioritizing lower health targets could absolutely be on its own, but the highlighting thing you could either take or leave it, but you couldn't have that be the only thing. But it's going to be pretty cool, so you know what it's going for, so you know that it's going to finish off that enemy. I mean, because that won't apply much to the swarmers, let's be honest. There's going to be no time for you to see that it's highlighted a swarmer. The swarmer will be dead. But either way...
If you think about it, though, target enemies with lower health, does that mean percentage-wise, or does that mean overall? Well, because if it means overall, then it will always target swarmers, unless there is a grunt that's somehow less health than a swarmer.
That's actually a good point. That is a good point, because I guess in a way proportional would work better for what it should be in my head. But there's not always going to be swarmers. But at the same time, what do you want the Sentry shooting at the most? I feel like it's always going to be swarmers, or those tiny enemies.
I agree, because I think what is the purpose of this overclock if not to basically the turret to clear out threats immediately, like, if you know what I mean. Like, even if anything's on low health, it can still hurt you an equal amount, right? But if the LMG is clearing up the stragglers, that then just means there's less numbers and less threats.
And it'll still work in the context of, when there's not swarmers, it will finish things off for you quite well. So yeah, I think it just works in that sense. And it's also, the original idea was like, this is supposed to be completely like inoffensive, as in you can take this and it just adds to your convenience. But I suppose you're not always, it's not 100% of the time going to be doing exactly what you want it to do. But I think that's fine. You don't have to take it. You don't have to take an overclock. That's the thing about these as well. It might come up a couple more times throughout this series. It's like, maybe you're not always actually going to want any of these. There's a chance.
Yeah.
As in, it's sort of just an alteration more than these are.
The issue is, though, Harry,
additions to the strength of the item.
You've got to agree that that's not really what Deep Rock is, as far as overclocks are concerned. They aren't something that you'll just kind of be like, you know what? I don't like any of these. I won't use any of them. That's not really the kind of thing they're built for. You just pick between them. All right.
Well, I don't necessarily believe in that, but
do you have a single build where you don't use an overclock, like on purpose?
Well, no,
exactly.
Obviously, and I don't believe in that even in this context. But it's still, things are a little bit icky when we're dealing with support and traversal tools. It's just like, how much would they be willing to have the overclock to make things stronger, or how much would they how much would they be willing to take away from them?
Yeah,
it's a little bit different. At the same time, I wouldn't be able to see myself not just having this by default, and then potentially choosing two of the others in different builds. And that's probably fair.
Yeah.
And I think that is what most of the cleans are. They're actually, hold on, I'm thinking about the satchel charge one. That's not entirely inoffensive. But we'll get to that. So that's good as it is. Like I said, the highlighting thing isn't 100% necessary, but it also couldn't be its own thing either. It's really the prioritization that is the main point here. Take it or leave it. I don't care. Let's move on. I'm happy with this. Let's spice things up immediately. Introducing my good friend Phalanx. So we're dealing with shields here, so let's just calm down, because I've got issues with it. I've got my own issues with it, because I didn't change this after coming up with it initially, but I do have ideas. Sentries generate shields around themselves with limited health, and they regenerate after a short time, after a 10-second delay. But it takes much longer to refill the sentries, and the shield cannot regenerate while sentries are empty. So this is like that really awkward part where it's just like, overclocks do make things stronger, and it's something that you can't really just run away from forever. there's quite a few. Like, for example, the unstable one for this doesn't actually make it stronger, but this is a very obvious combat benefit in this case. But there's sort of, I think, what I've tried to do is implement an idea of a play style that would surround this, like having it so the shields can't be up while the sentry's empty, but it also takes much longer to refill them. So it's just not always going to be there, and you sort of have to strategize around it. But at the same time, I sort of thought later on, well, maybe just a flat like damage resistance, like radius, like veteran depositor style works better, because then it revolves around the refilling part, keeping the shield up, and that you're sort of just in a much better position when your sentries have ammo. Obviously, once the sentries run out of ammo, just in a normal game, you are inherently slightly worse off. But once you have like this shield thing that you have while the sentries have ammo, but then it's gone when they don't have it, you're just in even deeper shit. And I just think it just creates an interesting contrast. And it also, you'd sort of be trying to upkeep it, but then you're also losing ammo by having the shields. And I think that might create an interesting playstyle, potentially. But like I said, the main thing that I would need to think about is like, should it be an actual shield or should it just be like an aura? That's what I'm with it.
Okay. I'll get this out of the way. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan of this. I'm leaning on the side of more the damage resistance around turrets. I think that is a little bit more reasonable. But the issue with this is that, first of all, it seems kind of annoying. So the shields only are out there when there's ammo in the turret, but also they have limited health. So, like, basically, you put down a turret, and it will like be a turret, and it will have a shield around it, and then
listen, I think I do want to do away with the limited health part, which is why it should be a radius, not like a physical shield that just blocks everything. It should just be a damage resistance radius, veteran depositor style, like I said.
Yeah, which I think could be a bit interesting if it's not that it's only active when there's ammo in it, but it consumes ammo while it's doing it, like per second. It's like a tick thing with the damage resistance radius in the area. Obviously, it will then compensate it by giving you some more ammo in the turrets, but maybe something like that.
Or that, I don't know. I was about to suggest that it stops firing while you're near it to direct energy to the shields.
Maybe, yeah, but that would be I don't know. I think because I actually, I'm not going to say this, but like it's the turrets or LMG gun platforms. They are obviously offensive in nature, but they're a bit like gunners' primary weapons. They protect people or protect you by just killing things before they get there. That kind of means. So they're generally more defensive of a piece of equipment, which is why I'm not against the idea that they would help you survive, right? Like, I'm fine with that. But as mentioned, they help you survive by killing stuff. That's kind of how I see it. In that, for shields, you have Gunner's Shield, who protects you by just preventing you from taking damage.
That's why, sort of, just inherently, I'm not a big fan of it actually being a shield when I really think about it. But I like the idea. I've always liked the idea of the Sentries being able to do something like this, and I don't think it's not, it doesn't not work with Engineer. He's sort of kind of about fortifying things. Yeah,
no, I think that's it. Because what is Phalanx?
It's like a Roman something.
Oh, is it like the turtle formation or some shit?
It's not the turtle formation,
right?
But it is something. I think it's a stationary one. I think it's like when they have the spears like laid on top of each other, wall to wall. Like
right,
spears,
yeah, when like the horses are coming in or some shit.
Yeah.
I'm actually sure they even had horses. They probably did.
And then there's like a lot of like directions you can go with this. Do you remember like Roland's turret from Borderlands 2, where it's like a shield on the front of it?
Yeah.
Like the forward facing, wherever the turret's facing, is like where the shield is, and it moves around. You could even have something like that.
The issue is though is that the only really use that had is that the turret in that had health, so therefore could be destroyed. So it was more the shield was protecting the turret Well, this, a bit less so. Like you would have to
you
kind
might
of
notice
shuffle
the
around the
description as
turret.
well, though.
Yeah.
That is a Borderlands reference because Axton, the commando, he has this like skill where you get shields around the turrets.
Right.
But then again, Ghost Ship, when you get the skill that gives you 2 turrets in Borderlands is called Gemini.
Yeah.
So make of that what you will.
It is. We do really do like we did on the last Overclock series. It's really cross Borderlands with
That's because it's got,
Deep Rock.
when it comes to things especially like Overclocks, Borderlands has got so many cool mechanics that you wouldn't expect from normal weapons that you can sort of bring in. It's like, yeah man, that's kind of sick. But yeah, this is one of the more out there ones, but even then I think it still has a place. I mean, it more so fits engineer possibly than actually having a place in the game.
Yeah,
but,
I
it's
think
one of the more out there ones, and I don't feel too bad about it.
I'm down with a area damage reduction from a turret because that gives it more of like a fortified angle, right? That you put your turret down and you stay by it and fight with it, and you die a little less quickly when you're near a turret.
And obviously it would be kind of weird in a lot of scenarios. Like, I don't think it's actually that useful in scenarios where you're moving about a lot. Like a Dreadnought fight, it might be kind of useful, but this is really for like stationary combat scenarios. Or it's not really just for those. It'll be useful in a lot of scenarios, but like, I don't hate the idea. I think there's place for things that really just make parts of the game easier. Like the uplink segments in Salvage Job. This would be fantastic on those, and I think that's okay. Well,
the turrets already, like, turret and shields are the best things for that.
Obviously.
Which obviously this would have both, so you could see the appeal there. But I don't know, I think this would end up being quite annoying in the way that it currently is. Obviously taking long to refill ammo, that's going to be a drain always. The squiffiness of the shield being there, like it'll be there when you put it down, but then it might break like really quickly. And if it doesn't break really quickly, then it's probably going to be too strong. So it would be kind of quickly, and then it will be a 10-second delay, so then it won't like be there. And then if you run out of ammo, it'll be a pain in the ass. I don't know. Yeah, I think in the way that it was definitely going to be a lot more annoying. Okay, yeah, this is going to take a lot of tampering.
Yeah, that's more what I'd like it to be.
Yeah, I'm
that sort of
down.
balances out a little bit, but it'd be like small, like 20% maybe even. It wouldn't even be that big of a damage.
I'm thinking only like 20%, but I'm also I'm on the side of maybe the aura consumes ammo, so you lose ammo quicker, but maybe you get a bit more ammo or something like that.
I'm thinking about what I've already sacrificed, Tyler.
Yeah, I know, but all right, yeah, this is I'd prefer this more. Whether or not it's better is up to, I guess, the audience and Ghost Ship.
Yeah, well, this is also one of the ones. Remember, I said like, even despite this, I am sort of happy with it. But it's like it is one of the ones where I know this isn't going to be the thing that's going to convince them that support to Overclocks are a good idea.
Yeah,
this is just something I'd like to see if we got support to Overclocks.
Yeah,
sort of something that lies a little bit between both, though, in that it really doesn't like add any crazy strength to the Sentry. But it's still a very extreme change. If this little guy, another thing stolen from Borderlands, longbow, basically about having just a ridiculous amount of versatility in where it can aim and also where you can put it. As in, you have like infinite placement range. You can just look at where you're going to put it and you can put it there, and it will have to like fly over and then construct itself quite slowly. And it also has all of these like utility aspects where it's like got less ammo and like slower rate of fire. And you wouldn't be able to remember if you can now you can put your Sentry on a wall or on a ceiling and it's got like a full sphere of view, but you also can't reload it while it's up there. So that's my like position on why this is okay. But I really like the idea because in Borderlands you just throw it, you get the longbow skill, you just throw it and it teleports to wherever you aim it. It's that is sort of the idea, that you can basically place it anywhere and then it can shoot basically anywhere. but that's not going to be like the best thing ever all the time, because you're going to have to bring it back to you to reload it, and then it's slow. So I actually, I'm not going to defer to you necessarily, but I'll ask if you actually see like the use cases for this, because I just really like the idea. I didn't actually consider when exactly it'd be useful, except just, you know, big caves and shit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is like, because normally you want to put your turrets on like a little bit of a high ground. This would be in any high ground. You basically could throw it on the ceiling, turn it into a sniper turret.
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't actually have increased range. But maybe maybe it should, to sort of accommodate this idea.
Maybe not.
But really, the core of the idea is actually being able to place it on, not necessarily like on the ceiling, but just further away, and like on like walls and on ceilings, but not like, I don't know. It's a bit weird, but I want to be able to put my turrets upside down for some reason, or the ceiling, because that gives them much greater like just dominance, I think, in terms of when they can shoot and when they can't. That'd be probably really good in dreadnought fights and stuff.
Yeah.
But you can't necessarily use them in clutch. I mean, you kind of can, because they build themselves, but it takes longer. It will take like 8 seconds, I guess, or 4 seconds if you take increased construction time. And you can place it behind a dreadnought while it's coming after you, and you can sort of move them around in the fight, I guess. I
think, I don't know. I don't actually think this is like broken. Like, since your turrets aren't actually any stronger.
No, they're actually
arguably slower.
Yeah.
The rate of fire, I mean, obviously you're still outputting the same amount of damage, just slower, with, you know, decreased fire rate and decreased capacity. So yeah,
it really does just come down to being able to put them wherever you need, at any time, and not having to build them yourself. That's really where the versatility comes in, but it doesn't mean you're going to be killing things ultra quick.
It is interesting. It makes it a lot more convenience on the engineer, at the cost of the actual LMG's performance. Like, but it isn't actually that, you know, it's doing less damage or has less ammo or anything. It is just doing worse in that period of time. But obviously you can then do a lot more, and it'd be a lot more better placed and stuff like that. I don't know. I can't quite hate it, in that I actually think it's pretty good. It seems.
I can think of like a couple of uses, like in directors' tunnels. I would want to put it on the ceiling, or the ceiling would be better, I think, especially when director goes over an arch, you know, or she creates an arch in the tunnel.
Yeah.
Having it at the peak of the arch isn't particularly useful. If it was on the ceiling, then it could see down either end of that sort of tunnel. But I think, you know, the uses of this would really come out if you got your hands on it, especially. You know, immediately set up your turrets wherever you need them. It would be really nice. You wouldn't necessarily feel like a god.
Yeah.
You've actually, you know, slightly impaired them. Ever so slightly. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, no,
I'll be
actually,
honest, this was also just like a need, just a hankering for this mechanic to be given to the turrets, because I just liked it so much, unfortunately.
I think, obviously, it's not incredibly relevant to this inherently, but I think a automatic build overclock would be quite likely. If they were to do overclocks, I think an overclock that built it automatically yet took longer to build, I think is very likely.
But
obviously, you took it a step up.
The value of that is sort of, I wouldn't say it's completely missing, but I think it's lessened if you don't also have the ability to put it like further away from you. I think those two things sort of go hand in hand, where it's just like the point is that you can put it where it needs to be without you having to be there. That's sort of the idea.
Well, yeah, you could just throw it down, like that kind of thing.
In that context, you'd at least need to be able to like throw it.
Yeah.
I think like a shield.
Which is why I'm not sure. Obviously, I don't think about longbow, but like maybe it's just you really do just throw it, and wherever you throw it, it builds.
I know, but I sort of like the idea of it. No, I like the idea of it presenting itself like a rival turret where it would fly out and construct itself. Yeah, and that's sort of the idea. It would use rival technology in some way.
The only issue is without the increased range, you'd be able to throw it a lot farther than it would be able to shoot back, If you know what I mean. Meanwhile, if you throw it as far as you throw normal things, it would still feel right. If you know what I mean.
So I think, so in the context of this specifically, it probably should have the range, shouldn't it?
If you want it to be a literally no recoil, flies to where you want it to go, infinite range would likely be something, but that really would feel OP. To be honest with you,
I think it wouldn't feel OP if you did decrease the damage, but maybe that.
But then
I don't know.
That I feel crosses a line for me. I don't know why, but yeah, it's. I don't know. I think maybe if it's just you throw it this time instead of having to like build it and place it in front of you, you can like throw it like a I don't know, grenade or something, and then wherever it sticks to, it just starts building itself. Something like that, it'll feel more dynamic. If you throw it onto a ceiling or something like that, and it can obviously shoot like anywhere around it. I don't know.
I think when it comes to construction, it's something that just adding to the versatility, well, giving that some kind of versatility, be able to place it in a different way is just an interesting idea, I think.
Yeah.
And just building on that to something that could actually be really cool and useful. Maybe I've got something, but I think, you know, looking at these three, these sort of represent sort of the three different lanes that they could go down with the port to overclocks, right? Or, you know, maybe this is just, I don't know, because like you have this clean one where it's like a considerable amount of convenience that you wouldn't necessarily just slap onto the base weapon, or at least you wouldn't have it be inherent. It might actually be, because it could work as an upgrade. Then you have something that adds like a very quite apparent change to the gun, to the weapon, but not actually in how it functions. I have realized that none of these really change how the Sentry operates, but this is a very distinct like benefit.
It changes how
it's a very distinct benefit that didn't exist before, you know. And then this is like a very extreme change that doesn't objectively make it stronger. It's just a very extreme change in like pretty much everything except how it shoots. I don't know, it's weird, but it's like extreme utility changes.
Well, yeah, the LMG or the Sentry would actually technically not be any worse damage output wise. Like overall output is equal, but the rate of output is heavily reduced in favor of your convenience. That's what the longbow does. For your convenience of being able to put it on any wall, and I guess you're not having to aim it up, make sure it's facing the right way, and without you having to build it. With all these conveniences, it costs actual DPS, but not overall damage. Which I don't know. I think there is merit there.
And obviously, like, you know, this is the one that I changed the most, and it's still the one that I'm least attracted to, which I think shows that we don't need the overclocks to inherently be just straight up bonuses. I just want to see interesting mechanics added to the support tools, which can come in the form of new support tools, by the way. You know?
Yeah, and since we're kind of over, I think I'll get my point out there that like everything you see there, right? The clean could just be a normal upgrade, right? That could just be part of the gun. But the unstables, and even the balanced, really, because let's be honest, there's not much of a difference between them. It still adds something new to the gun that changes things, right? Those could be tier 5 upgrades, right? Like they could just add a tier 5 tier upgrade to that stuff.
I mean, remember I said about Hawkeye? There's a lot of things they could do to it, but like, I don't want to just like, I wouldn't just add this to Hawkeye, but I don't think there's necessarily enough space. You wouldn't be able to add both of these, and just I don't know which one they'd rather add. At the same time, something like this would be more appropriate for like a mod, because then it's taking that slot instead of occupying the new overclock slot. Where the overclock slot probably shouldn't, in this case, help you in terms of combat any more than the tool already does, basically. It's a very weird thing to sort of navigate. I grant. And that's why I don't envy Ghost Ship's position, but I really do think it's something that they should be considering. And maybe, hopefully, I've made it look worth considering, at least.
I don't know, because I think it isn't coming down to the idea that they don't have any ideas of what they'd add. They just do. I just the thing is, generally I can get on this, see their side of things, but the whole uninteraction or like lack of interaction with the utility and mobility and stuff like that. I just don't understand it at all.
They're putting themselves in a box I don't think most of the player base are putting them in. I think most of the player base would welcome those changes, especially new tools.
Because I think
that's so exciting.
Like I just don't. I can't comprehend the argument they have in the like because their argument is basically you should be able to expect what equipment they have that other players have, right? If you're a scout and an engineer joins your game, you should expect a platform whenever you ping a nitro, right? That should always be possible. That's kind of their argument.
But honestly, if I'm being honest with you, mate, when it comes to the traversal tools, that's like the only one that exists on that kind of pedestal.
I'm gonna, now that we're in the video, I'm working on alternate traversal and utility, and that is something I came to terms with in that, like, I was thinking, right, what do other people expect or require from this equipment, and I need to kind of carry that over, right? And platforms, yeah, for scout, expect the platforms, right? That's like really it. And then I was like, okay, turrets, I don't think anyone expects anything really. I don't use turrets sometimes. I forget I own them, and you guys never really notice, right? Obviously, they do help, but it's not something anyone needs. Like, you don't join a game with an engineer and you need a turret, for God's sake.
Same with the flare gun. It's like, people are like, oh, the flare gun's amazing. But it's just like, you get on without it when you don't scout.
Yeah, but it's still something that I think if you have a scout, you expect them to light up the cave.
Yes,
I think that is still something.
Now that's something that I can't imagine you like carrying over though to a new one.
Exactly, which is what I'm currently running up against.
Honestly, the flare gun is one of the biggest ones where it's just like that's such a like. There can't really be an alternate version of that function.
I wouldn't say it's the only one, considering currently I'm really struggling with Driller overall. But like his satchel charge is such a ball of nothing that you can't alternate it. Right? It doesn't need it in the first place. You don't want an alternate version of that. Like, I so can't get on the argument. Like, nobody is like, oh, I really hope that I really need the fucking Driller Satchel. Because the only thing people expect Driller Satchel to do is kill them. Like, is kill the players. That's the only thing the Driller Satchel is actually known for and expected of. Right? And it's just so irritating that Ghost Ship doesn't get that the only thing that's reasonable is that, like, if you have a gunner, you could expect them to like bubble a resupply or like a down person. But like, even then, right, the bubbling resupplies and that, and platforming nitro and that, even then, people like they say people should be able to expect that, and that's fair. But that's only they have the equipment, right? Players can do that. But I would argue a solid amount of engineers and gunners don't. Like, a scout will ping a nitro and then they won't get a platform, and it's like.
But could it be that perhaps people sort of internalize these class functions more than we think, and that it's a potential? There's also an argument that the new stuff might not actually be that popular.
Yeah, but that's never the argument that they've used, though.
No.
And I think you and I both agree that that won't be the case, right? People will
see it happen. I don't know. I don't necessarily think that's more likely, but I wouldn't be surprised if people just sort of weren't attracted to the new stuff that much. As much as weapons.
Same as the Gen 3. Yeah, same as the new weapons.
Well,
it just means
I think they're
people
different. I think because you already have a choice. I mean, it's not huge, but it wasn't huge before. But you already had the choice.
Exactly.
But I still think it's a wall that I want them to break down.
Do you not see that the only reason why they haven't added mobility and utility is because they haven't already added mobility and utility? Do you not see how
obviously
their only justification
that's obvious.
Is that they haven't done it yet?
So they need to know, right, that over time people's opinions will change and sort of the status quo will change and people will start to see the classes differently over time. They won't probably new like support and traversal tools probably won't be accepted immediately, but they would be over time. People would come to be like, oh, that's another thing that class can do. It would become normalized pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah, and the issue is
a lot of their issues. Like, my idea of just being able to see your teammates' loadouts you know how many of these restrictions that will like mostly dissolve?
Yeah.
It really will. Because then you know what your teammates have, and
plus
they think that can only be in the form of them just only having this one piece of equipment without an option. No.
Yeah.
But what if you could just see?
Yeah, first
of all,
all,
they were taking something else.
If you could, because it's the same thing with. I don't get the argument because the argument is already half fallen apart, which I think is why they're fighting so hard to protect it, right? Because you can't expect primaries or secondaries, right? Flamethrower joined your game. God knows what status effect they're going to be running with, right?
You can either did you just call Driller the Flamethrower?
Maybe if I did, yeah.
You did.
Yeah. If a driller joins your game, you can either expect all your enemies to be on fire, frozen, or like fucking melting, right? And that does affect how you would play the game, right? If he's using cryo, you would have to like shoot them a bunch, right? Or if you're using the like a flamethrower, if you're a driller, or like any flame builds, like point is primary weapons and secondary weapons already break the rule that they're using to defend, not adding more utility and mobility. They are already unexpected and will change how you play the game depending on what these other people run, right? And I think that might be why they are drawing a line, because they're like, okay, we'll allow the primaries and secondaries to be wild, right? Just completely like God knows what they're going to pull up with, right? As long as you can reliably expect mobility and utility, right?
But the weapons, they still you still get what you expect from like that class.
Yeah, exactly. But that would still definitely be the case.
What the driller's going to be able to do when it comes to combat, kind of. Yeah. Because then obviously temperature shortage is a really big spanner in the works, but it's also a bit of an anomaly.
Yeah, but like, obviously that's still the case, even if they added new mobility and utility, because that would still be part of it.
Right. Tyler, I can't have these ones be more than 40 minutes.
I agree. And I need to stop because this is basically what my video will be about.
Yeah, and we also haven't done a podcast on this topic either. It's a pretty big one. I mean, we talked about it a lot, but we haven't actually done a dedicated podcast. But either way, I am going to stop you.
Yeah.
Which is
good.
I never thought I would be doing that, but either way, here we are. So obviously, thank you so much for watching. I hope maybe I've just thrown some cool ideas out there. Maybe I've changed some minds that go shit. Probably not.
Yeah.
And well, we'll see you on Thursday for something. We've got the premiere of which we'll probably do a reaction to, but that also means the Christmas event will be live. So I think we're going to have to live stream on Thursday.
Live stream.
We'll do the Christmas special podcast on Friday. So you can look forward to that. Next time on Workshop, I guess is what it's just going to be called. Tyler might have something for us. If he doesn't, I'll be doing a build showcase.
Oh.
Yeah. This is how I'm going to do it. I've got a lot of those lined up. In terms of showcase, I don't know if I'm going to have gameplay or not. I've got to put the new Wi-Fi to the test. I'm actually going to do that after this. I'm just going to record a bunch of gameplay and just see if I can upload it. So we'll see how that goes. Either way, thanks so much for if you enjoyed this, please make sure to rock and stone, and by rock and stone I mean like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Yes, bye.